What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo, another day where I've got egg on my face. We are coming off of a huge win from NiP over Astralis at the hands of ZTR. What on earth happened? Everybody in the world knew that ZTR was going to be a direct improvement to Twist and magically fix all of their problems, except me. I'm the only guy in the whole world who didn't realize the power KPI ZTR, the guy who was picked by Device to be next up in 2021. This guy came through 5-4 resolution and dumpstered the guy who idolized him. Okay, Device stood no chance. Device knew his power, okay? And on Overpass especially, we saw a huge game coming out of ZTR after, let's go on a little ZTR journey here. Okay, we look at the stats. He played on the young ninjas, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but overall it's not incredible. But then you have to wonder, okay, if Device picks ZTR as his bold prediction, and what do we know? That probably that ZTR has scrimmed with NiP already. Probably they've scrimmed against Astralis. Where is the experience? Where does Device know about ZTR from? Is it from scrims? Is it actually just watching the games? How many of these matches could he have potentially watched? Like, where does he know them from? This is a question that I have, and so I wonder, or am NiP already kind of playing a lot with them, and this was an introduction into Tier 1 CS that for us was a bit of a surprise, but for NiP, they kind of knew what to expect, that this was more of a known quantity in ZTR. I don't know. But man, is this logo ever looking good? Okay, it's looking good now with ZTR, face of the brand here, replacing Twist. Twist was a guy, we heard from Threat, directly from Threat, that he was filling in a lot of the hard spots, and he was doing a lot of the jobs that no one else would or maybe could do. And you know what? I've been playing a little bit of Dota, and I was thinking, I cannot play 5 to save my life. It is too hard. There's too many things to think about when I have to think about not only my own game, but my team. And a 5 in Dota is the hard support player, right? So this is a role that you would think, okay, you're not going to put your most gifted player on the team as a 5. The best players of all time, the most gifted players of all time, they're usually going to be in your core, your first, your mid player, your carry, this kind of thing. So what's the deal with 5? Why? How can it be so hard? Well, you've got to think about so much more than just playing. So not only do you have to put up a decent performance yourself, you have to be there during the fights, just like you would in Counter-Strike. I'm going to keep tying this back to Counter-Strike. But in Dota, you've got to think about warding, bounties, roaming, scout, like all of these different things on top of also playing. And that's kind of what it was with Twist's job. He was filling in a lot. He was playing a lot of spots that were uncomfortable. He was doing a lot on T-sides to support for his team. And we had Flush go on the HLTV confirmed, and he said a big problem with Swedish CS is everybody wants to be the star of the show. And I don't know how much of a problem that actually was on NiP. I haven't heard anything about like huge egos on NiP or anything. It really did earnestly feel like the team was just confused as to why they were losing, which is totally fair. But you would think that if you're going to pick up somebody to replace what would be a 5, experience would be worth more than individual ability, because Twist for NiP needs to know how to support or how to do certain things versus teams in all of these different situations. So we actually saw DTR fill in a lot of his comfort spots, which means the team has some reverence for him. They're letting him be comfortable, and they're working around that. And that solution seemed less likely, and also I think less I would assume would be less likely and less likely to work. But hey, it did work, and I think we've seen an example in the past of like BMAS, for example, on FaZe, where they didn't give him a lot of space, and they just told him to just fill in all these hard spots, and then he didn't succeed, and then he went to Mouse Sports, and Kerrigan did give him that extra leash, and then he did succeed. So maybe there's a lesson to be learned there. And yeah, I really did not think that this was going to work so well. I literally said, why do NiP think that this is going to magically fix their problems? And clearly, it kind of has. Now, in this match, I want to give full credit to NiP, but I can also say without blinking that Astralis did not play great. Okay, they had a lot of rounds from what I saw, at least on Inferno, where the time, or even on Overpass, where rounds came down to the clock, which is not something that you typically see. It felt like, and I don't know if you agree, but with Magisk, it felt like him IGLing. It felt like he had to chime in a couple of times to get the round in order. I remember one round on Overpass where they pulled out of Monster, ran over back to the A site, Magisk grabbed the bomb, Glaive killed the guy stairs, they went all the way back. A very kind of last-second rotation, but it was in a sea of last-second rotations. This one was one that worked out, and it was like, all right, Astralis, they've got it together, they're warmed up, it's going to be good. Now, in terms of impact in the tournament, like this is the first match of the event. So this determines who goes into the elimination game, but no one actually gets eliminated from this match. So potentially Astralis could get the rematch with NiP, and and nobody has had much success in terms of winning the rematch versus Astralis in the past few months, if not like for the past couple of years. Na'Vi, Vitality have all been on the bitter end of this in terms of rematches in the same event, where Astralis have come through and beat them. And I definitely think that this was a particularly bad day for Astralis. Astralis now go on to play against OG, who did not look as good as Big yesterday. And I think that, of course, it's going to be a very difficult game. The only thing you could be really hopeful for OG is that Astralis definitely did look a little bit foggy. I feel like Glaive was a little bit glue-brained yesterday, and that's not something that you often say. I don't know if they felt like that themselves, but that's what we're talking about here with ZTR with this game, and we're going to go ahead and look at Overpass in a second. I kind of quickly, I've got to touch on this. I don't want to, people are, that damn smile, that damn smile. What can you say? It hurts. It hurts. It cuts deep. It like a knife in hot butter, or however that saying goes. It's this is not. I'm not okay with. Nobody asked me if this was. Nobody where was no vote. I didn't see a Twitch poll. I didn't get like a. Nobody asked nobody. It just happened. It just happened to us that Tim just left. Okay, I was actually trying to help this core, Automatic, Sunny, and Flusha, find an organization to pick them up. And they did have offers, but not from established organizations, and that was the tricky part. And then time started ticking, and of course it seems like it looks like the grass is greener. Now Tim spent a lot of time playing on Gen G, and for the more hardcore fan, you look at Gen G and you think, and the person who's following the NA scene, and you see a lot of potential. You see, you hear things about Kusta, Bentet's good player, Automatic's getting better at upping all this stuff, but the team's not achieving things. They're not qualifying to international lands. It's a really down period for the roster. And then you have and then the org kind of pulls out, and before even taking on Vanity and potentially Zeppa, I think, and it's a series of unfortunate events, and that results in Bentet going to Extremum, which is kind of interesting. Automatic left out there, but potentially being able to team up with Flusha and Sunny. It's weird because in my opinion, that core is really appealing. And they also had two other players lined up, which can be talked about because I think they were still on teams, but they couldn't find the actual org to get that going. So that's just one of those things that never happens. I think Peter put it best on HLTV as he tweeted out that it's a failure. It's a failure from the game's perspective, as for the community as a whole, that we couldn't get an org for them, because it's like they're putting together a competent core with tons of experience, brand power, an international lineup that everybody would want to watch at least at first and give a chance to, and yet there was no org there to sign them. It's really sad. And of course we just lose Tim, one of the most cerebral players in the game, a core piece of the team that won North America's only major in CS history that can't be forgotten. Somebody who is incredibly versatile. Flusha called the perfect teammate. Nothing but praise for Automatic, even if there was kind of this down period after. He kind of stayed on Cloud9 because of his loyalty all the way until that team was nothing, and then stayed on Gen G throughout a period. And Tarek and Stewie, they're going MIBR, they're going liquid, they're going EG. They're doing a lot of different things to try to keep their career going and taking risks. Automatic was staying loyal to the brands that he was with and not kind of jumping ship. And unfortunately, that ship eventually crashed. And that's really fucking sad. And I don't know how else to put that. So what can you say? We lost an important player in the game who brought a lot of experience and who was someone who's incredibly cerebral, one of the most cerebral players that I've ever talked to, and someone who's incredibly humble and tried to improve every day. And really, I remember once he was talking to me about KZM movement on Steam and something. He was asking me to give him KZ lessons to help him improve his strafing, and then he started doing it a lot more, and then he got actually very good at it because since he was opping, he was taking that role very seriously and wanted to improve his movement. And he said, hey, listen, the way I look at this is when I think about Faker in League of Legends, I think about a player who thinks about the game from every single angle. If I was Faker, what would I do to become good at my game? I would think about the game from every possible angle. And so that's why he started to improve his movement and think about the game from that perspective, and would always spitball ideas about new ways of thinking about the game. And that's not something that you get from a lot of pro players, I won't lie to you. I mean, even watching demos is something that they maybe don't do. So it was pretty much, it's just pretty fucking tragic that we lost him. But anyways, it's just lamenting his career is all I can do. There's not much you can say. Of course, it's a great opportunity. We're all going to support him in his journey into a new game. Whether or not we're watching, we're never going to say anything disparaging about what he did for CS. And yeah, he definitely left his mark in our history. So yeah, it's just great to have had him in our game. And now this is a funny segue, okay, into North. Here is an organization. So for those of you who might be out of the loop, just I guess within a couple of hours ago, North have decided to cease operations. They were housed by FC Copenhagen, and a football team in Denmark, and this was an operation that I think of the two. There are two orgs. Okay, I'd say there were two orgs in Counter-Strike that were probably the best example of what not to do with running a team, and that was North and that was Envy. I think those are the two orgs that definitely did the worst job perceivably in running a team, and I think that they're both gone. But is that a good thing? No, it's not a good thing. It's really bad. Instead of sticking around long enough to fix it, unfortunately, they pretty much bottomed out and then left. So it's just a kind of it leaves a sour taste in the mouths of everybody who was involved in it on both ends, whether it's Envy or North. It's not fun to think about in the scene that we lose one full org that could have provided a lot of opportunities from a number of positions, for all the employees that work there, for the players that they could potentially sign, or the ones that were already on the team, for the TOs that they maybe work with in the future, for the fans that they had. There's a lot of things that go away when you lose the org. So it's really sad to see them go. And I was, it's no secret, I was definitely very critical of North, but nobody who has any kind of decency or level of maturity would ever say that this is a good thing or a positive thing or good riddance. This is not a good thing. This is a bad thing. This sucks. And there were good people that worked at the org, and there were some people that were doing a good job. There were some people that maybe weren't doing a good job, and maybe they were going to turn the corner on it. That we don't see that version of history, unfortunately, and we lose something that was, whether or not they were doing it the best, having kind of an impact on the scene in a ultimately a pretty sizable one at that. So North are gone. They got their stickers in with the RMR points. They actually Connor showed them to me. They're actually some of the nicest stickers. Maybe that's worth an investment. Maybe I should turn this YouTube video off and go buy a bunch of the North stickers because the new ones are actually pretty cool. No, I'm not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. This is a much longer one already for an introduction. Big unveil a new academy team. This is awesome. Okay, Big had a great year. And here's an example of an org that could have very easily taken the path of North, I want to say. And here's an example of an org that has punched well above their weight and done so much for themselves. We even saw Searson in an interview yesterday, which that's something on that front. I think, Big could step up a bit in terms of getting their players to become more popular, because I think that's the one thing that may be holding them back. I talked about this yesterday in the cast, but Seriously, like whether someone thinks somebody is overrated or underrated, it has very little to do with the objective truth about how good they are and more to do with the perception, right? You know, Shroud would be if Shroud did not stream, people would have called him an underrated player for his whole career. But because Shroud was the biggest streamer in CS:GO, he was perpetually the most overrated player pretty much of all time. At no fault of his own, this poor guy was most humble motherfucker, streaming, owning every day, doing his best, was so talented even though he maybe didn't have the competitive drive that he got onto like a tier 1 organization in North America and still did pretty well. And yet still, everybody just talked shit on him for his whole fucking career. How sad is that? Poor Shroudy. Okay? And that's the same that goes for a lot of players, that they are either overrated or underrated at no fault of their own. But what's worse than being overrated or underrated is not being rated at all. And that's why I think Big have some work to do in terms of making sure their players are as popular as possible. You know, people are mad at Henry G for making Cloud9 too popular, but really, people are mad at themselves for buying into the hype. People are mad at themselves for buying into the hype. Could you ask for a better job to be done than to make your team too popular? Even if it fails, it doesn't matter. It's eyeballs. So I think that Big, they've secured the partner position with Blast, which is obviously a great TO to work with, and Big have done a great job. At least when we've casted them in their games, they've always set up the sponsor backgrounds properly. They've set up the cameras well. Never had anything bad to say about them on that front. They've actually got very underrated social media. They do a lot of things well. But but they also have like a top 10 elite opper that maybe could have one of the best years that we've ever seen a CSGO player have in Searson. And yet, until yesterday, I didn't hear this motherfucker speak English once in his life. I've never even heard him in an interview. I didn't even know he could. So I think that you need to have, you've already got that problem with Ziwu where he's not doing English interviews. Simple's doing tons of media all the time. People love him. Plus, he's owns. But all of these players should be on the same level on that front, okay? They should be just as popular as they are good because they could so easily get all of the attention and also do so incredibly well in the server. And that'd be great. And it's just such a waste to see that some of the players are maybe not as popular because the team is actually bringing new ideas to TCS. I like what they're doing with the meta, and also they've got some incredible pieces there. We saw Keto as well achieving real new heights. I think in 2020, and also in this last match yesterday, looking very, very solid. So. Yes, Big unveil a new academy. I spent like 30 minutes talking about Big. This is about the academy team, and I only have something small to say about this. That academy teams are the future, and that they are coming, and that this is not the end. There's going to be more academy teams. There's going to be more. There's going to be more ZTR. This could be 5 new ZTRs right here with the Big academy team, and there's going to be more academy teams in the future, and more feeding systems from the academy teams. To successful. We had Navi win the global finals with Bit playing well on Inferno to absolutely dumpster Astralis. Okay? That's an academy team move up. ZTR comes on and also dumpsters Astralis. Maybe what's the next academy team to move a player up to dumpster Astralis? That's the big question. The question is not even the question is not if, but when. Because it seems to be a very successful thing. And you think about some of these CIS teams, Gambit literally switching from Gambit youngsters to Gambit, and like how many other players and teams and talent there is, it's going to be nuts. And even though it is sad that we lose orgs like Envy, like North, that some North American players have left, this new system, this new thing that's becoming popularized with the academy teams and its successes is going to add strength to our scene in a big way, and already has. And we're going to see things pop up with these, just that level of competition take on a new level of seriousness. It's not stuff that I can spoil, but it's really cool the next frontier, I think, is going to be with these academy teams, and it's going to be very, very exciting and fun to watch all of that grow. But okay, I should have saved the ZTR stuff for last. Now we're just going to jump into the game before this video gets too long. Here it is. We're going to watch the Overpass. So I actually very curious about Overpass. I know I could do him a huge favor here by watching CT side, and where he had 1411, 140 AR, a huge rating. And maybe I should do that. I don't know. I want to watch the T side because I had problems specifically with NiP's T side on Overpass. And I guess, let's see. We look at the overall rounds here, and they I guess because it's the I guess they didn't do too well in either app. Maybe I should watch the CT side. Yeah. I was hoping to see like a huge improvement on the T side potentially that we could look and point to. Okay, let's just go through it. Maybe we'll watch both halves. I don't know, but I think I have interesting things to say, at least to contextualize what it means for. Excuse me, that is not the correct scene. What it means for NiP to play the T side of Overpass. What their philosophy is on the T side of Overpass, and I've made the joke. Okay, it's a little bit rude. But I've made the joke that sometimes on T Overpass, NiP are like Fnatic without the pushing. Okay, and that's just to say that I feel like sometimes they're a little bit uninspired. Okay, we've also already got actually ZTR helping out with an execute with a couple of the nades into the B site, and it's pretty clean so far. They've got short control here, so they can plant open. All right, we're in a pretty decent spot. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not exactly sure where Twist fit in on all of the rounds on T-side Overpass. I'm just here to... I know that ZTR did take Twist spots on CT side, but I don't know exactly how much has changed on the T side. I'm definitely not an NiP expert by any means, and they just haven't... they just really just kind of fell off the map a little bit at the end of the last year and didn't get to see a lot of their games. Okay. Well, that's going to get the casters going for sure. The ZTR headshot on Dupree into heaven, and he shot one bullet that round, and it was super effective. Okay. So now, okay, the default is here. He's throwing, again, some supporting grenades, of course, up on the pistol. And the issue for me with NiP sometimes is that... I've drawn the comparison to Brokey that like if the team doesn't make a mistake, it's hard for them to have hard for Brokey to have impact. And I think the same sometimes with NiP on their T side. If the CTs make mistakes, try to get too much information, NiP are very good at punishing, but sometimes it feels like they can fall very flat or go without ideas when they're starved for they're kind of led on, I guess, in terms of map control. A lot of map control is given up. They're not given the fights early. Then sometimes the clock works against them. And that's why I wanted to see where ZTR kind of fits into the puzzle a little bit to see if he maybe can accelerate their T sides, maybe bring some ideas to it, or to see if he's taking a lead on any of the entries. Again, I didn't watch this one live. I think I would have been in the Talent shuttle on the way over or something like that. I think I only watched half of this game, but not this half. So, yeah, let's see what happens. And we got info on the last guy. I think we were just going to plant Optimus, but now at least the trade comes through, and it's safely put down in front of Dice. Okay, NiP go up. And we had piss-poor pistol round statistics for Astralis in the last couple of months. It hasn't really seemed to affect the results too much. In fact, there was this weird thing. It felt like Astralis really only had when they had a bad map, it was horrible, and it felt like the whole day was bad. But anytime a game was close for the most part, Astralis were usually winning. And I think that's the Glaive magic, that the more data you give Glaive, the more consistently he can outperform other IGLs on the calling department. On the adaptation department, Glaive is usually kind of, he's obviously top shelf when you talk about him versus other IGLs in that regard. But all right, yeah, it's an interesting thing to talk about because NiP, I feel like it was, for me, it seemed like a leadership problem. And I actually do appreciate NiP in their statement on social media. Okay, hold on. Zipic said, I don't want to be on this site anymore. It runs out into the open, and the trades come through. Not a very important round, but a clean one for NiP. Easy when you get to the point of the entrance at the top. Oh, okay. We'll forget about that. That's okay. Just run past, and then we'll... Oh, we've got a push outside monster. Zipix rips him up with the AUG spray. What is that? He was basically off the screen. I can't believe he actually got the kill. Oh, man, that's pretty brutal. Well, on the bright side, Molly or not, he dies there. So, doesn't have a huge impact on the round. Of course, they lose short control, but they weren't going to take it. They just wanted to punish or scare Astralis from going for it. And by, throwing this short molly, but then going over towards monster, you're trying to lock down this half of the map. This half of the map with with the minimum resources, right? You're using ZTR, say, okay, you molly the short push. If they smoke it, then we can be worried about it. But if they don't smoke it, we know we've got a few seconds on this where we can take stairs fast to open the door. Or even if we don't do it, again, we just have info. And then if they try to squeeze for Monster and he doesn't get flash killed, he can stand on the outside and just at least be able to tell his team in the first few seconds, nobody's pushed short, no one's pushed Monster. That's kind of the idea. Yeah, he gets caught off with a nice capture from a Zipex. Okay, so the execute will come in, and I kind of just want to watch the whole thing play out. Let's see how this goes. Rez is very good at entering, I think, into B, but also, you know what? Magisk is also not only very good at entering into B, but also denying. Okay, him and Dupree have definitely got some pretty absurd kills entering the B side and defending. That's for sure. Okay. 3-1 now. We've got similar grenades, and we see he was just planning to jump over. Probably happy to see this reverse monster smoke come out. And now, of course, we're jostling back and forth between the idea of someone flashing over, playing anti-flash. Sometimes we're staring at a wall. Sometimes we're coming back into angles. This is why you kind of want to stay fluid, even when you're sitting in a default behind a smoke, just in case you get caught off guard. You know, Hampus is here staring into a wall, waiting for a push. And so ZTR in this position knows he could eat a flash, but Hampus has his back, and they would be happy to just kind of trade down in a situation where someone pushes. But instead, they actually go for this walkout. So this is an NiP classic to just go for the walkout on Monster, and it's not also. Oh my God, honestly, Zipex's aim is so. I feel like Zipex's aim is so underrated sometimes. He's just kind of ridiculous with it, and he already does so much damage on this hold, but. The trades come back for NiP. It's actually not a horrible situation here, even though it could have been much better. But then finally, Magisk appears to get the second last kill, leaving Knock all alone in the 1v2. Here is somebody who has come under fire for his performances. Someone who I think is overdue for a really, really great year. I think he is honestly a very smart player. I think he's an incredible opper. I think he has the capacity to be a top opper. But ultimately the stats don't lie. He's been inconsistent. He's been out-opt. He's been a bit too passive some games. His playstyle might be a bit inconsistent. I think he has what it takes. I really do believe that Knock can be a great player. And sometimes it is just a change of scenery. That's all you need. We talked about Automatic in this same... I want to talk Automatic, okay? Automatic is a player who was on TSM, and... he was a player who was overlooked on TSM, and Stewie played FPL with Automatic and literally scouted him to come on to Cloud9 from there. As a player who was just doing not even great, he was literally supporting on TSM because that's the kind of person Automatic was when he actually had the ability, and then came on to Cloud9 and then was one of their star players. Was a huge piece in their rise to the top 6 and to the major run. Automatic was definitely the final roster move that mattered. And before that, on a previous team, he wasn't set up to shine. You could say the same thing about Glaive on Heroic. You know, Glaive on Heroic was good. It was talked about, but when he finally came onto Astral, I mean, literally came onto Astral as 4 goddamn majors, right? It's pretty absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous, actually, that how much a change of scenery can really change the impact of a player. And that's why I wanted to give Twist some flowers. Okay, here is some nice spray control and composure, I think, from ZTR. Another molly goes up in the sky for ZTR. That one, to be fair, I would have expected it to land properly. A nice little lineup for CT from flowers. Okay, 2 mollies so far that have blown up in the air for ZTR. That's what we're going to really focus on. Okay, not the multi-frags. Not the scaling, not the refragging. It's the mollies that get blown up in the air. Well, hundreds of dollars that have been wasted by ZTR. The impediment for NiP to get to 9 rounds in this half. The ZTR's Molotovs exploding in the sky. All right, this time he won't even throw them all. He can't be... He's like, someone come here just for the beginning of the round. Throw this molly for him. Did that actually happen? I think he would actually be throwing that molly, but okay, yeah. So I think someone actually came and threw his molly for him in the default, just in case maybe. All right, so now we we're going to be trying to clamp down on the A site, looking for the bathrooms. You saw Astralis in the two-man setup at top bathrooms, of course. Here we've got a Device with just a scout on the outside of Divider, and he'll take a pick, and this is where it gets very scary. It's a real test of a team. Oh, my God. I just looked at chat. It's a real test of the team to see what they can do in the 4v5. When you lose a player, this is when people get scared, and this is when I feel like Ninjas and Pajamas, who are looked at as a very young, inexperienced team, really had some troubles where they couldn't be trusted to pull back around, or as soon as they got rocked a little bit mentally, it felt like they would just tumble down and lose. So okay, looks like they're making good progress so far. We're just crossing the 40-second mark, totally fine. Actually, a lot of space given up here from Astralis, and we see that nobody's at long as well, which is so important. This long player cannot die. You've got 3 coming up A. This attack will feel no different than 5 players coming up onto A at this point. So I expect NiP should be able to trade out effectively here. And it's all about ZTR as well. He also gets the info on the last guy, but going 1 for 2 is perfect. I mean, okay, they don't get the bomb back, and Matt just finds an awkward timing to peek out, but there are the trades back and forth. Again, hugely... Oh, no. Okay, this is going to be tough. This will take some clutch opping. I remember Nock being very good from this position, but oh my God, he's got to gamble. Oh, that's a nice slight wall bang. A good read on Dupree. Like a deer in headlights. Dupree kind of trying to punish the push out, but doesn't want to take the risk of walking around one way or the other. Of course, you see that from Nock's perspective. He was the one who was scared, but yeah, that's a nice clutch. But yeah, of course, the round opened up in a large way from ZTR. But what's the reason, like, when you get that close to the A site, what's the reason that NiP are so favored, even though it's 4v5? Because there's not enough good spots to stand on Overpass on the A site. The site does not have enough good spots to stand on. You can stand back dice. You can stand in bank. You can stand on that close position by long. You can stand on Optimus. And that's it. But it's so easy to molly Optimus, to smoke out bank and CT, to molly back dice, to hard clear it from long. If you don't have long control, you don't have bathrooms control, you are probably going to lose if an execute comes that close. So that was a really, really great spot. And what's the other thing is that even though the trades come back, what's the other advantage of being that close? Well, of course, if you get the kills, then the rotators are stuck in bank and CT. They can't actually get into the site to help while the team is still fighting, right? So you get the info too late. These are the 2 reasons that on Overpass it's important to, when you can, push up for information. Now for Astralis in that round, of course, they don't push up for the information because they don't have great guns, and they got the opening kill. So they think that NiP are pretty scared, but it's a great sign that NiP, they didn't play it scared, and they didn't wait around. They just continued forward carefully and kind of just maintained a certain amount of pressure carefully and made progress. And you're just kind of always looking at the clock to make sure that a team is scaling well. Because as soon as you get to a certain point of the map, right, and there's not enough time left, that's when you give up a footstep where you don't want to. You want to be able to have the option to walk a lot of the time. And it is definitely a part of a game plan sometimes to wait until the last second to execute. But it, of course, also, it can be a negative where you wait till the last second to execute, and now suddenly a CT gets a lucky 2K spray down. And I say lucky because, maybe they just get some crazy, ridiculous shot, which happens sometimes. And then suddenly you just can't even plant, or you can't make progress. And you don't have extra time to carefully approach that trade. And that's what happens sometimes. We talk about Zeus's Na'Vi, right? Back in the day, this was a big issue. There are certain teams that are trying to bring this playstyle back as well, and it's honestly, that's a weird smoke molly interaction here, and it's honestly, it's not the sexiest CS, and it honestly doesn't work that well most of the time either. I feel like it's a little bit gimmicky when teams try to do that in year 8 of CSGO, and I think maybe, on 1 or 2 rounds it's good to do that just to always keep the threat alive that you might try it, but it's not something that you want to base a whole game plan around. And I feel like teams that have tried to do that style of CS where they wait until like the last 10 seconds and then they just like run into a site and hope that the entries go well, that's just the style of CS that has really fallen out of favor. And actually something interesting with Astralis here is just that it felt like they were doing that, but almost because either they were uncomfortable with the way that NiP were playing CT side, or they were just like Glaive was a bit foggy, or the ideas weren't there or something. But yeah, something was definitely a little bit off yesterday. And today's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So again, I don't know. I want to say that this was probably what Twist was doing, but I can't even remember honestly if he was the guy holding B pushes and trying to apply pressure on this side of the map. It's not a fun job, but someone has to do it. Monster is probably one of the lesser pushed choke points of any choke point on any map. Short B, of course, gets a lot more action, but in this position, you're not always pushing into short B to try to fight them. That can be kind of risky, it doesn't always result in kills. So now his team gets the brunt of action. They get the frags, and he'll just try to meet up with them. Of course, small exploitable gap here with stairs open, but it is an eco. All the kills come down. They're pretty safe to go and get the plant off. And we're seeing that ZTR actually playing quite well in this half, and the reason that he only gets less than 60 ADR is probably specifically because of his role, right? Because most of the rounds, he's just sitting outside Monster. But it feels like in this half, if ZTR was more a part of the action, based on the kills that we've seen, he would have really, really good impact. His entries look solid. That one P250 shot on the first round, like you can see his aim's on point. He overall on the CT side definitely had huge impact. So I think if his role was shifted here on the T side, or if he gets more involved in the core in this kind of 4-1 situation, he probably can put up better T sides on Overpass as well. So let's see as we round out this half if anything changes, anything more exciting happens for him, or if he kind of needs to come to the call of duty to try to take over rounds. So it looks like this might be a situation. So we've got a 3-on-4. But 3-on-4s are not that, they're not that scary on Overpass compared to some other maps. I think, there are some maps where it's really, really scary. I feel like on Overpass, you're still a little bit worried 4v3 in this situation. There's just a lot of ways back into the round, I think, with time for the T side. So we're going to go for the Monster walkout, and it's obviously a fan favorite, something that's very effective in a number of situations. Here it kind of gets called out with a deep grenade. It goes a bit far, so ZTR still looking very, very healthy, and he's going to jump up, I think, Glaive. Oh, I remember this. Glaive is on the other side of the smoke and will ultimately get the kill. And I think this might be all the rounds that we get for NiP. If I'm not mistaken, maybe they got one more, but I think it might just be 8. Okay, we've got this Molotov mastered. He's mastered this Molotov for sure. All right, so that play that I should actually talk about that for a second. So when you see that barrels interaction, I've talked about this before, but one of the only real big changes that's happened with Overpass on B site defenses is throwing the smoke down between the pillar and the barrels. And that smoke, it funnels everybody up the left side of the pillar. And then if you're on the barrels as a CT, you can shoot them on the cross. You can crossfire with short control. If you have a player on short control, your heaven guy isn't watching the right and left side of the pillar. It solves a number of issues, just that one smoke, especially if the execute's coming, you throw that smoke down. So then what people started doing on the T side was jumping over the barrels like ZTR did to try to attack the site that way. And that's a very normal and natural thing to do. So that interaction, it was almost a handshake agreement. ZTR was approaching it carefully. Glaive was sitting there waiting. And ZTR could have got that kill. Glaive could have got that kill. That's probably the kill that unravels the site, right? Because it's the one that's on the farthest wall in the site. You get the kill on the barrels. Then really the CTs now, who might be in the middle of the site somewhere, they're splitting their attention between forward towards Monster and now over towards the barrels, which is very uncomfortable. And it obviously swings the man advantage. Back to even numbers, at least for NiP, if ZTR gets the frag. So it's a very, very kind of key detail and key fight. But yeah, that's becoming more and more of a thing. Flashing through that smoke, jumping over the barrel solo, finding a way to deny the power of that smoke from the CT side is maybe one of the more interesting things that happened in the last couple of years, at least on Overpass. Not much changes in CS, and that's why we love it. But we just kind of get closer and closer to mastery, to perfection. And here, wow, Dupree just sprays 3 down. Rez drops the op shot, and then Plopsky's left alone, and that's just the default. That just gets destroyed. Okay, no big deal. But so far, I mean, what we've seen from NiP is they've kept ideas. They've kept them. I feel like they kept the energy good here throughout the rounds, even when they're down players. They're moving along nicely. It's not, you're not seeing the clock being red when they're entering into the sites. it feels like they're looking for trades or they're just grouping when things aren't working out in their default. Otherwise, their style looks relatively similar to how it normally does. But yeah, like seems pretty good. We're obviously going to need more of a sample size when it comes to NiP's Overpass, and I'll really like to see who they play next. It's a map that doesn't get played nearly as much as it used to in the Tier 1. Astralis, Liquid, NiP are a few teams that'll play it. Na'Vi will play it, but it doesn't get brought up that often. It's like... yeah, it's less. I don't know what the least played maps order is, but it's probably something like Train Overpass, something like that. Yeah. So okay, now we've got the stairs walk up. It's 2-on-5, and here's a situation where, of course, ZTR can't have that much impact. Unfortunately, he's coming in late. He's trying to organize, and it looks like in the late round situation, sometimes he's the entry, which is cool. Whether or not it's the A site or the B site. But yeah, his job never changes. It's basically been Groundhog Day for ZTR on this push a number of times with how he's trying to hold. And again, it's just about denying map control, making sure that this never gets compromised, and then, kind of conditioning. I think there is a certain point in the game where you don't have to watch this anymore. NiP, like, they're waiting for the one round that the push comes through. It never comes. And then you have to ask yourself the question, if you're NiP, are you wasting resources by holding on to this for every single round, or is that push going to come eventually? And if it does, of course, and you stop it, then that could be a very, very important round. And ZTR gets op tier. I actually remember watching this from Device's perspective in the match and thinking ZTR is going to walk, or someone's going to walk right into this, but they should know Device is there. But now I realize, looking at ZTR, he didn't know what just happened because he was over just holding on B. So didn't understand the Device would be right there, and then he lights him up with the CZ75. We move into the last round of the half, and we've only got the Deagle. Maybe we can put together a couple of nice kills for the frag movie, but apart from that, do they have a chance to win this game? I don't know. That's what we'll have to see. The standoff at long. We hear the AUG shots going off. Dupree, he kills the flank. ZTR, is he going to swing through? Let's see. Yeah, he does look for it, but he ends up dying, and that's the end of the game. Okay, that's all we got. I hope you enjoyed that one. That's the first Coach Lab episode ever done live on Twitch. I was really nervous about doing it, but we got through it. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you have any issues or suggestions or anything that you have for me, let me know in the comments. All the YouTube frogs, all the Twitch frogs, let me know what you think and what you thought. And that's it. I'm going to continue streaming for an hour or two, I think, until I hop on my shuttle, and then I'm going to be casting the second game of the day. It's OG versus Astralis. Hopefully they play on Overpass, so we have some extra content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.